Yes, I wanted to briefly touch on a point that was brought to my attention by via this one channel that I follow. More or less discussing all the similarities and outright stark contrasts between Shanks and Whitebeard. I don't really want to take from that video because you really should check it out yourself, especially if you're listening to this. Check out Grand Line Review, Shanks and Whitebeard, not Whitebeard, sorry, Blackbeard.
Hmm.
Um, so you remember how Shanks in last week's episode mentions how he thinks it's cool that Blackbeard's never slept before?
Right.
Yeah, and after he gives him that wound, his opinion has changed completely.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I recently finished Drum Island in the dub again because why the fuck not? And I noticed something. I noticed something. In a dialogue between Luffy and Sanji as they're carrying Nami up to the mountain, Luffy mentions, "Hey Sanji, did you know people on winter islands don't sleep because they
Hmm.
have to keep awake so that the wildlife doesn't kill them?"
Yeah, I remember him saying that.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it seems like such a weird and innocuous thing, but when you remember that Blackbeard doesn't sleep, kind of begs the question: Did he come from a winter island? Did he come from Drum Island, perchance? Because apparently Wapol ends up leaving Drum Island as soon as Blackbeard and his crew, land.
Oh,
And
because they
this
were
was
fucking
after he
shit
was
up.
known as Blackbeard. Yeah, by that point they were fucking shit up, but it's just like, hey, what if Blackbeard just decided to pay a visit to the land of his birth? I mean,
Hmm.
it's a stretch, but Luffy does mention that what he said to Sanji is something he heard in a bar once. Who would he
Ah.
have hung out in a bar with apart from Shanks?
Yeah, that is true. A lot of stories that he heard from Shanks during that time. Well, Shanks and his crew and all that good stuff. So, I mean, it would make sense, but I don't know. It would seem weird that because I remember back during that time in Drum Island when all that stuff was going on. They don't really refer to Blackbeard as someone that anyone really remembers, but then again, he was a lot older at that time, but it's hard to say.
I mean, the thing is, like, he spent 20 years on Whitebeard's crew, basically a shadow. Like, nobody really knew anything about him. He more or less just laid low until he found out, oh, Thatch has the devil fruit I've wanted for a really long time. Well, I better kill his ass. That's mine, motherfucker.
Mm. It does bring forward a lot of interesting questions when you think about it like that. Because, at what point would they have found out that information? Would Blackbeard have simply told them that, or would that have been something that Shanks learned about later down the line?
Kind of hard to say, really. I just remember hearing that and thinking, wow, that's a little too relevant to this plot thread that, you know, has for the entirety of the time we've been introduced to it, more or less been like a secondary detail, like something that isn't totally relevant at this moment, so we can't get too into it, but they keep leaving like subtle hints here and there.
Right, right. See, the only thing for me that makes me question things even more is the fact that Blackbeard has a very weird amount of knowledge about things. Like to have even had a point where he seemed to Because the thing about when he was younger and he ended up joining up with Whitebeard's crew is just that it seemed like he knew he needed to be on Whitebeard's crew. Like he absolutely had to be on Whitebeard's crew, which raises so many questions about how did he know he needed to be there? How did he know that he needed the Yami Yami no Mi? Like, he has all this information that's kind of hard to tell. How did he gain all this knowledge? Where did he gain all of this knowledge? And why? To what end?
Realistically, that same question could be asked about Shanks.
Especially with his involvement with the Celestial Dragon. Well, no, the Gorosei.
Yeah, yeah, I want to know what the fuck that's about. Um, I'm sure we're gonna get our answers, and I'll wait until Wano's done to start like really pressing for it. But rest assured, I want to know what the fuck that's about because
It's
that's a pretty big bombshell to drop on people and not really elaborate on, especially
it's
in the middle of a giant mega arc like Wano.
See, it's especially funny because we met the characters of like Shanks, Blackbeard, and hell, even Mihawk, and we met them so early on in the story, and yet as time went by, we've known so little about them. Like we know more about the
Same thing
likes
with
of
Dragon.
Kaido and yeah, Dragon too, but like we know more about Kaido, we know more about Big Mom, we know more about Whitebeard. Like all these characters who didn't really play a prominent role until much later on in the series. So it's just like how relevant will Shanks and Blackbeard and Kaido and Mihawk be towards the end of the series? Because with all the things that we know about that has been suggested and hinted and all that good stuff, it's just like something major had to have happened to these characters as they were coming up and before we are meeting them in present day.
Well, like I said, I'm sure we'll get our answers eventually. It's just, Oda. It's a labor of love, and he's got to make sure every detail is perfect. I don't fault him for it, but I am an impatient bastard, and I'll admit to that.
It's just fun to theorize about stuff.
True. Hmm. You wanted to talk about Neptune?
It was just something briefly offhand because, it was something I realized after watching the current episode, the last episode that just aired, was that Neptune knew both Roger and Whitebeard fairly well. Well, yeah. And he talks about them like it's been a while since they've last talked and met and all that stuff. And it was only during that time that I realized wait, to have known both of them in such a short span of time, I was wondering if maybe Neptune has something to do with the whole God Valley incident.
Hmm. Hmm. You know, now that you mention it, I don't want to take it off the table as an option. It's entirely possible. I mean, Roger. Okay, so Whitebeard was part of the Rocks Pirates, and Roger was teaming up with Garp to take down the Rocks Pirates. For all we know, Neptune could have been involved in that, and we may even know that Whitebeard probably decided, you know what, I don't want to be a part of this crew anymore. I'm going to side with the guys trying to take y'all down, but I don't really like these guys either. So, you know,
Yeah, because
'cause, I mean, technically, we're kind of seeing that with Drake right now. Like, he doesn't. I don't think he technically wants to ally himself with the Straw Hats. It's just like I need to take down Kaido, and you guys are making that effort, so I'll stick with you.
yeah, Not to mention, it would be too much of a hassle to be going through both Kaido's men and the Straw Hat, so might as well at least side with one so you can live to fight another day.
Basically.
Yeah, and that's the thing that gets me about Neptune. It's just like he's been involved with Whitebeard, he's been involved with Roger, and has some kind of mysterious past with him. And it kind of brings to the forefront the question of, is Big Mom's involvement on Fishman Island, was that something that came out of those interactions as well? Like everything surrounding Neptune and these other Yonko feels like it didn't happen by chance, but because they had met somewhere in the past, and it was a significant meeting, if nothing else.
Hmm. Honestly, I, like I said, it's hard to take that option off the table because it might. Let's say Neptune did get involved in the God Valley incident. Chances are he was probably trying to broker some goodwill with both Roger and with Whitebeard, but when both of them died out, Fishman Island was still in kind of a shit position. So, obviously he's going to have to make some kind of deal with one of the four remaining emperors. I guess Big Mom got there before Shanks did.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, really makes me wonder. Because Oda has this tendency to never have anything just mentioned completely offhand. It's always something to do with, it's always something that ends up really coming back into play when you least expect it, and you can't take any shred of information at face value. There's almost always a deeper meaning to everything that is said, everything that is brought up. And hell, like you said earlier, the whole situation with the road poneglyph in Fishman Island, where did it go? What was its contents? How will the Straw Hats find it for when they want to go to the final island and all that? What's going to happen?
Questions neither of us seem to be able to answer, but have fun asking anyway.
Right? And that's the thing. We have the Road Poneglyph. We have the Whole Cake Island Road Poneglyph. We have
The
the
one on Wano.
one on Wano. And now we have the one that was supposed to be on Fishman Island that has mysteriously gone missing. I'm really wondering where the last location of that poneglyph could possibly be, and if there's a potential that Neptune might know more than he let on when the Straw Hats were last there.
I definitely believe in that bit with Neptune. I definitely believe he could have said more but elected not to. As for the final road poneglyph, it may or may not be on Lodestar Island, the second to last island. Just because I don't know, why wouldn't it be there? I I would wager a guess if it's not on Fishman Island, it's got to be somewhere. And they've already established that both Big Mom and Kaido each only have one road poneglyph, so you know, gotta be somewhere.
Yeah. Also, we still haven't found out exactly where Kaido is keeping his poneglyph.
Didn't Law find it?
No, the one that Law found underneath the Onigashima, he found that it was just a random poneglyph. It wasn't the road one.
Ah, huh. I guess we'll see when we see.
It's one of those things where it's just like we know of the location of at least two road poneglyphs, but currently two other road poneglyphs are completely lost to us. We have the rubbing, the copy that Brooke made, and the whole thing with Zoe is just like that's easily accessible to the Straw Hats because of their alliance with the Minks and all that good stuff, but they're still too
Yeah.
short.
Well, I get the feeling after they finish up in Wano, they'll just be one short. I get the feeling that after all is said and done, before the Straw Hats decide to leave, they're just gonna be like, we need to at least see this road poneglyph before we go.
Mm. Yeah,
I mean, that's what I think would be the logical course of action, but maybe I'm just maybe I don't know what I'm on
eh,
about.
it's theories, and all that good stuff. You know, you can theorize about the whole message to from Joy Boy and the apology and all that good stuff, and what the deeper meaning behind that is. You can theorize about the whole situation with Poseidon being Shirahoshi and what role she'll end up playing in the far off future. You know, you have to. There's the theories we could actually have about the whole situation with Pluton, and if we're ever gonna see that come into play again. You know, there's the whole theories we could have about whether or not we'll ever go back to O'Hara and find out about that poneglyph that knows all the knowledge about the Void Century and all that good stuff. Hell, there's the theories we could craft about the two other poneglyphs that Big Mom had in her possession that we never found out exactly what was on them. The world may never know. Also,
um,
I'm reading up on it. Orochi also has a poneglyph underneath the flower capital that Brooke saw, but it wasn't red.
hmm. Well, I mean, they've got to be keeping it somewhere.
But where? Where could it possibly be? We've searched underneath the flower capital and didn't find it. We've searched underneath Onigashima and didn't find it. Yes, there were poneglyphs, but they weren't the poneglyphs that everyone needed.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's
Kaido shoved the whole road poneglyph up his dragon ass.
the world's most largest and uncomfortable butt plug.
Yeah, just shove a whole block in your ass. That'll keep the poo from coming out.
Oh my god.
Oh God.
Well, I think that's the end of things. We've reached the end of everything we could possibly talk about One Piece at this point. You got anything
Yeah,
else?
not currently. I have caught up with Final Space, but I don't really have much to say on the new episode. It's just setting up like plot stuff for later on in the season. So I'll have more to say on that in the coming weeks when there's resolution and or payoff for that kind of shit.
That works. Um, yeah, in terms of things that I've been watching, the usual, Amphibia, all that good stuff. Uh, just finished up the last episode of this season of Ruby, which was utterly heartbreaking and oh, that was roller coaster of emotion with that series.
Mm.
Finished up playing some Spider Man.
Spiderman.
Spiderman. Yeah, that's about it.
Spooderman.
All that
Yeah.
good 2D action going on. But, yeah, I think it's time to call this session a wrap.
Now, if only I had the bars.
Spit them bars.
Oh, I wish. I wish. I wish I was a fish.
Oh, God. Maybe you shouldn't spit no bars.
You know what? That is for everybody's best interest that I don't.
Oh, God. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining us on another episode and session of Talking 2D. It's all about One Piece now and forever. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to my fabulous co hosts.
Oh, well, thank you for having me.
Mm,
I'm just happy to be
anytime.
here.
And with that, it is Duuz-Diz-Din and
The man with the iron giblets.
signing off. Later.
Peace.